Welcome back to A Slice of News, where I cut you off a slice of news. President Donald Trump has once again made statements that he is not entirely ruling out a third term as the President of the United States. I would love to do it. I have the best numbers ever. Am I ruling it out? You have to tell me. All I can tell you is that I have a great group of people, which they don't. That was just a selection of some of the things President Trump had to say when en route to Japan on Air Force One. A group of reporters asked if he was considering a third term. There was a lot to get into and break down in just those few statements. He claimed to have his, quote, best numbers ever, but his current approval rating is 45% and has been that way for some time. So while it is true that he has higher numbers than he did following the attack on the Capitol by his supporters on January 6, 2020, where they had tanked down to 34%, his biggest numbers ever would actually have been right around the beginning of COVID when it was up at 49%. You know a president isn't doing too great in the popularity department when his highest numbers ever can't even crack 50%. Even if somehow he did have his biggest numbers ever right now, his largest impediment to this mythical third term as president would be the 22nd Amendment of the Constitution, which says, quote, no person shall be elected to office of the president more than twice. I would say even to the less constitutionally literate among us, that would seem pretty cut and dry. 2 terms is all you get, full stop. So of course those reporters on Air Force One asked him, would you fight this in court? Which, of course, he had something to say about. I haven't really thought about it. We have some very good people, as you know, but I have the best poll numbers I've ever had. You almost have to commend him for squeezing in multiple lies in just that short block of words. I don't think anyone truly believes that he had never thought about it. And as I've already said, the idea that he has the best poll numbers ever is complete nonsense. I think if there's one thing we can pretty much be guaranteed Donald Trump has thought about, it's about staying in power indefinitely. A third term, fourth term, fifth term. He doesn't want to ever give up power. He will, in his mind, serve forever as a king on his golden throne. And maybe it's a matter of choosing his words carefully. He said he had never thought about it, but he has certainly fantasized about it multiple times, I have no doubt, because Donald Trump is certainly a man who doesn't do a lot of thinking. Not to mention that if somehow he were to try to repeal the 22nd Amendment and to constitutionally allow him to have his third term, he would need support from 2/3 of the House of Representatives and Senate, or a constitutional convention called for by 2/3 of the state legislature, which itself would require approval from 3/4 of state legislatures. And while his influence runs deep within many state governments at this point, I don't think he has what it takes to get that many on board with granting him yet another term in the Oval Office. While Republicans do have majority control in both the House and Senate, there is no possible way they could get 2/3 of Congress to go along with this and vote to repeal the 22nd Amendment. That will most certainly remain a fantasy. Some on the right say, well, that's not a problem necessarily. Trump could run as the vice president in the 2028 election, and whoever he gets to be his running mate can just drop out following his election as president, and then you get another Trump term. Trump even said, I'd be allowed to do that, though he followed that up with, I wouldn't do that. I think it's too cute. Yeah, I would rule that out because it's too cute. I think the people wouldn't like that. It's too cute. It wouldn't be right. And while he's absolutely right, and the people wouldn't like that, and it wouldn't be right, legal scholars are saying it wouldn't actually be possible. He's barred from running for vice president because he would not be eligible to be president, and the 12th Amendment of the Constitution said that no person constitutionally ineligible for office of the president shall be eligible for that of the vice president of the United States. Once again, that pesky U.S. Constitution thwarting his royal ambitions of being an eternal leader and serving far more than is allowed to him. But if you ask former White House Chief Strategist Steve Bannon, this pesky constitution is no impediment at all. He claims that there are plans being formed to circumvent the 22nd Amendment, eliminating any need to repeal it. He went on to say that, quote, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people ought to just get accommodated to that. At the appropriate time, we will lay out that plan. But there is a plan. The idea that anyone would publicly claim that there are plans being formed and put in place to circumvent the Constitution of the United States is incredibly disturbing and should disturb anyone, regardless of whether you are on his side or not, to say, yes, we are planning to go against the foundational rules of this nation is incredibly troubling and honestly strikes me as pretty un-American. If a Democratic strategist were to have made those claims after Obama's second term, Republicans and those on the right would be incensed. They would say, how could you even say that? How dare you try to break our sacred rules? But no, when it's their man, I guess rules don't apply. But I guess that has been a common theme throughout the Trump presidency. Rules don't apply to us, only to you. Bannon also went on to say that Trump was an instrument of divine will, echoing language both that President Trump himself and his supporters have both expressed on multiple occasions. So it's okay to go against the Constitution and give him a third term. It's what God would want. So if you don't let him have it, you're going against God's will. And you're going to just stand there and say God was wrong? This near deification of Donald Trump is concerning, but at this point almost par for the course for those on the right. If they classify him as God's instrument on earth to do his divine will, that means that not only can he do whatever he wants, but he cannot be questioned. Because if you question Donald Trump, you're questioning the Lord, and nobody questions God. While I myself don't buy into any of this religious stuff, if he is someone who is placed on earth to do somebody's will, I think it's more likely the downstairs guy than the upstairs guy. But ultimately, I don't know if it's going to matter. They can try to overturn the 22nd Amendment. They can try to make plans to go around the 22nd Amendment. But what's really going to be the deciding factor is the fact that Donald Trump, the human man, is really not physically or mentally capable of serving as president for a third term. The man is in awful physical condition. Not to mention his mind is most definitely far gone already, and I can only imagine what 3 years more of degradation would do to it. Between now and 2028, the real question is what will give out first, his body or his mind? And while we've been watching his physical body deteriorate in real time, to a point where there were briefly rumors at one point that he may have actually died, he has shown so many outward signs of mental decline that I don't think there's any way he's going to be mentally capable of exercising the duties of his office by 2028. And he and his own party spent 4 years saying that Joe Biden was a senile old man who no longer had the mental faculties to be president. But in 2028, he would be 82, making him the oldest president ever, and he is already seeming to be in worse mental condition than Biden was even at the end of his presidency. So the question may be not can he constitutionally serve a third term, but can he literally, physically, mentally serve a third term? And I'm beginning to think the answer is no. There's no possible way he would be competent to serve another term as president. I'd even argue he's not competent to serve a second term as president, and probably is not fit for the office right now. But maybe that's what this whole third term push is all about. The Republicans can see that he is deteriorating, and that if they lose him, they have lost their figurehead, they've lost their wedge into power, and that the Democrats will overwhelm them, rightfully so. Donald Trump is a conservative symbol, and when they don't have him, they lose a lot. And I'm willing to bet his physical and mental decline is far worse than the public is aware of, and they want to make sure it stays that way. They can't risk their people losing faith in their given leader if they discover just how incapacitated and decrepit he truly is. So I think Steve Bannon's claims are all talk, simply a distraction and false hope for those on the right that Donald Trump could somehow be able to have more time as president when his time as president is already running out as we speak, as he continues to fall apart due to age and mental decline. I'm not sure we have to worry about Donald Trump being a 3-term president. I'm not entirely sure he will manage to become a 2-term president because I don't know if he's going to last the full length of his current second term. He may become become our nation's first 1.5-term presidents. But I guess all we can do is wait and see. So that'll be it for this episode of A Slice of News. I've been your host, Mr. Slice, and until next time, when I cut you off another slice of news.
Thank you.